How did the Cortes shape early Portuguese governance? Imagine a time when kings needed more money than their traditional armies could provide. That's when the Portuguese Cortes first appeared, changing how power was shared. This assembly wasn't just about kings making decisions alone. It brought together representatives from towns, the church, and noble families. They all had a say in how the kingdom was run. The first recorded meeting happened during King Afonso II's reign. It marked the start of a new way of involving different social groups in government. The Cortes were built around the idea that the king could not just impose taxes whenever he wanted. Instead, he had to ask for approval from the assembly. This was a big shift because it meant that the king's power was limited by the consent of others. The assembly was made up of three main groups: the clergy, the nobility, and representatives from cities and towns. These city representatives, called procurators, carried instructions from their communities. They could also negotiate on behalf of their towns, especially when it came to taxes. When the Cortes met, they mainly discussed money matters. They listened to grievances from religious groups and talked about how much tax the king could collect. These meetings weren't debates like today, but more like negotiations. The representatives bargained with the king over what he could ask for. This process made the king realize he needed to listen to his subjects, not just command them. A key moment was in 1261 during the Cortes of Coimbra. King Afonso III agreed that he could not collect taxes without the Cortes' approval. This was a major step because it limited royal power and set a precedent for future governance. It showed that the king needed support from different social groups to rule effectively. During times of war or trouble, the Cortes became even more important. They helped raise armies and gather resources, making the king's rule more dependent on the assembly. The Cortes also balanced royal authority with the interests of the church, nobility, and towns. It prevented any one group from dominating politics. Instead, power was shared, and the king had to negotiate with his subjects. This approach lasted for many centuries. Kings like John I and Afonso V often called the Cortes to discuss important issues. Over time, the assembly became a regular part of Portuguese political life. By the time of the revolution in 1820, the Cortes had evolved into a symbol of national sovereignty. The new government called a different kind of assembly, one that represented all citizens rather than just estates. This change was inspired by the old Cortes but aimed to create a more equal and democratic system. It showed how the medieval Cortes planted the seeds for modern political ideas in Portugal. From a broader European view, Portugal's Cortes was unique because it grew out of specific struggles. Portugal fought to stay independent from Castile and resisted papal control. These challenges made the Cortes more vital for defending Portuguese sovereignty. It became a way for the people to have a voice in ruling their land. The institution helped Portugal develop a political culture where the king and the people had to work together, shaping the country's history and legacy.